Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about all the matchups for running backs this week as we go over our starts versus our sits. You ready?
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
All right, we're going to do this a little bit different. The way we do our stats is we're going to look at this as the matchup. So the first matchup we're going to do is Arizona versus Dallas. And this is our stat machine. I put in a lot of data into this and it's kicking out some of the information. So let's just review what this information is. I'm going to share it with you guys. So for the Arizona Cardinals, it says Zonovan Knight should be a start. Why is that? Well, his last 2 game average is 9.4 points versus Dallas, who's given up 30.77. That's going to affect both him and Michael Carter because Dallas's defense is ranked 31st against the run, whereas Arizona is ranked 15th. And starting Javonte Williams is the only start when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go over our next game. Here we have Atlanta versus New England. And the thing about this matchup is you see a big name marquee player in the flex position. What does this mean? Well, everybody has 32 roster spots. If you have a 16-team league, you have 32 roster spots, 2 running backs per position. And in this case, they're saying Bijan Robinson should be in that flex position because he's going against New England, which is the 6th ranked defense against the run, whereas Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson is going against Atlanta, who has a defense ranked 23rd against the run. So this is why if you have these players, you should consider them. Now, you'll get a little, because it's ranked so low, you might get that 3rd player in there. So we're going to go to the next matchup here. Now we're going to go Baltimore versus Miami. Obviously, the 2 marquee players' name is Derrick Henry and Devon A-Chain. And what does that mean? Well, the last 2 games, Derrick Henry's averaged 19.10, whereas Miami's only given up 25.6 versus Baltimore, who's only given up 18 points, and A-Chain's scored 16.45%. Miami's defense is ranked 29, whereas Baltimore is ranked 20th against the run. So here it's saying Ollie Gordon should be a sit and Jalen Wright should be a sit. And again, for the Baltimore Ravens, Keaton Mitchell sit, Justice Hill sit. Now we're going to move on to more players to the next matchup. Now we're going against Buffalo versus Kansas City. Now, this is where you get a surprising stat, right? You got 3 players from from Kansas City that all say start. Now, let's look at that. Kareem Hunt, he averaged 9.5, but Buffalo's given up 31.5. So this is where it gets inflated, and then you have your options depending on who you have. So this is why it's going to say start Isaiah Pacheco and start Brashard Smith, who right here, there's points, 9.5 the last 2 games. Isaiah Pacheco 9.1 and Brashard Smith, he got 6.95. If you look at James Cook, he's averaging the last 2 games 33.6 versus Kansas City's rush defense, which is given up 12.37. So it's pretty strong. So it's going to bring it down to a 25-11. So Kansas City's rush defense is 13th. Buffalo's is ranked 21st. And that's that. Let's move on to the next matchup. Here we have Carolina versus Green Bay. And I want to keep in mind that this goes against, we're going to have 32 starts, we're going to have 16 flexes, and then we're going to have the rest sits. So Carolina versus Green Bay, you got Chuba Hubbard, he's a sit. Rico Dowdle, he's a sit. And Trevor Etienne is a sit. Whereas you're going to start Josh Jacobs. He's done 16.15. His opponent has been given up 21.77. And then Emmanuel Wilson is a sit. And Chris Brooks is a sit. You know, just to take a look, Green Bay is third against the rush. Whereas the Carolina Panthers are 17th against the rush. So you can make your own decisions depending on who you've drafted and who's on your roster. Next one is Chicago versus Cincinnati. Here you got DeAndre Swift is a start for the Chicago Bears. You got Kyle Monaghay, and he is expected to do 9.75, and even got Rashawn Johnson, who is listed as a flex position. Why is that? It's because Cincinnati has the worst rush defense in the league, whereas Chicago has the 12th best rushing game. So let's look at the team totals. Chase Brown, last 2 games he's averaging 18.75. The opponents, he's only given up 14.87, so that's going to pull him down slightly. And then you're going to sit Perrine, you're going to sit Evans. At Denver versus Houston. You got RJ Harvin, who finally has a start with Denver. He got 3 rushing TDs recently, so he's going to be listed as a start. You got J.K. Dobbins. He's a flex position, so that way you already know he's between 33 and 48. And then you got this week, you got Woody Marks, because you're going against the 14th ranked rush defense. No, my bad. Houston's going against Denver. No. So Houston boasts the number 1 rush defense. So that's why you have RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins is there. And then Denver has the 14th rush defense. So because these players got so low, you're only going to start Woody Marks. And at Detroit versus Minnesota, now they're listing to go ahead and start Jahmyr Gibbs. He's averaging 36.80. His opponents have allowed 15.7. So that means the Minnesota defense is ranked 7th. And then for Minnesota, you got Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones Sr., and Xavier Scott. They're saying to go ahead and sit all of them because you're going against Detroit, who has the 2nd best rush defense. So that's going to pull that stat down slightly. Okay, moving on to the next matchup we have. Indianapolis versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 1 rusher in the league is Jonathan Taylor. He's averaging 13.8 the last 2 games. His opponents has been given up 18.77. Pretty tough defense there. They're the 9th ranked rush defense. And then you're going to sit the other backup running backs. And for Pittsburgh, they say go ahead and start Jaylen Warren this week because you're going against Indianapolis, who has the 11th best Russian defense. And then a key point here is Kenneth Gainwell. They're saying to sit him this week. At number 9, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Las Vegas Raiders. They're all sits. Now, will this pan out? I'm not sure. But it's interesting to see every running back here is listed as a sit. And Ashton Genty, that's what it looks like. So you're getting the hang of what the stat machine is telling us. Okay, the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Tennessee Titans. Kimani Vidal, he is listed as a start over Patterson, Haskins. They're going against the Tennessee defense that's 30th in the league. Then you have the Tennessee Titans. They have start Spears and also start Tony Pollard because the defense is so bad. And that gives you that stat. And we're going to look at the Los Angeles Rams versus the New Orleans Saints. And again, all here, every running back here is a sit because New Orleans is the 18th best rush defense. And the Rams are 5th best. So it says don't start any of these running backs this week. Okay, now we're going to go New York Giants versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now that Cam Scatterboo's out, Tyrone Tracy is a flex. So if you have a flex spot, you're looking for another running back, you might consider him because San Francisco's defense is ranked 26th. Now you have Christian McCaffrey, which everybody in the league is going to start him. And they're saying because the Giants' defense is ranked 22 against the rush. Now you have somebody like Brian Robinson Jr. Will he get some carries? I doubt it. And that's that matchup. And our last matchup is Seattle versus the Washington Commanders, where they're saying go ahead and start Zach Charbonnet. In the flex position, Kenneth Walker. And then for the Washington Commanders, sit everybody. Now that's surprising because you got to start some of these players, but here it's because the Seattle Seahawks defense is ranked 4th. That is our start versus sit matchups for week 9. We hope some of this information has helped you. It helps me understand what's going on. It keeps me engaged with the league. And like always, good luck on this week's fantasy football.